What is up YouTube, it's your boy SmackNPie here. So over the course of next week or two, there is so much content, ladies and gentlemen, because the Q&A happened and it gave us so freaking much info. So this is going to be part 1 related to holiday horror, aka the first level of chapter 5. Also, Fandom Game Fest is officially premiering very soon. The trailer will be out tonight, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Immediately once we finish this Q&A recap series, we will have the show premiere on the channel, so make sure you tune in. There's going to be Bendy fan games, Dark Deception fan games, and so much so. But without wasting any more time, boys, let us jump freaking into it. So the Q&A happened. It was over 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen. So holiday horror, one of the most anticipated level in Dark Deception chapter 5 specifically, and there's not much that is known other than the fact that there are mannequins, puppet kings, and whatnot. We do know one thing, is that blue mannequins, ladies and gentlemen, don't exist. Now, where did the blue mannequins come from? I think probably a lot of you are going to point the fingers at me because I've used multiple colors mannequins on my thumbnails and videos and whatnot, but let me clarify something, alright? The confirmed ones were the red stalkers, maybe a little bit of white ones, but red stalkers were confirmed. And it is now confirmed that blue mannequins don't exist. We're gonna come back to this in just a second. It was also confirmed that there is something, not a weapon, but there is some sort of like item that you can actually use in the holiday horror level. I theorized that it is something that is going to be used in the Puppet King boss fight, and if you want to visualize that, you gotta tune in for our Fandom Game Fest next week. But it could be used in other parts of holiday horror. Like there will be something that we'll actually hold Doug Hauser and we'll actually use that item in the holiday horror level, just like we did with the Clown Gremlins boss fight and others in chapter 4 as well. We also learned, ladies and gentlemen, the size of holiday horror. Ladies and gentlemen, Vincent Levins revealed that the holiday horror is like Mama Bear Third Zone. When somebody asked if we can see, because it is a mall, right? If we can see through the windows like day or night, it would be cool to see an outside view just like we saw with the hospital and whatnot, but it was revealed that no, it is like a third zone of Mama Bear level where it was inside the cave and whatnot. It doesn't really have that day-night cycle. Environment is completely different. It doesn't need that, outside stuff and whatnot. It is mostly inside. We're gonna come back to it in just a second. Speaking of mall, fans asked, what about the traps in holiday horror? Okay, this is one of the most important questions, and we said that he cannot reveal. Why? Because it is something organic. Now, there have been many fan games related to holiday horror mannequins level, and each of them have their own separate ways of, showcasing those traps. Mostly of them have something to do with the alarms. I haven't seen something other than the alarms that alarm the mannequins, but Vince said that he can't reveal because it would spoil a major part of the holiday horror level, both the gameplay wise and lore wise. Then let's get back to holiday horror mall level, like mall, okay? Because people are asking, hey, why we're not getting that many teasers for chapter 5, at least the mall, compared to when we got a lot of teasers for chapter 4. Vince revealed that one of the reasons for it is because fan games and fan devs. It is a minor part of the reason why, because the major reason is, of course, the spoilers, and Vince wants people to experience it for the first time and fully. But one of the reasons, minor reasons, but one of the reasons is that being compared to fan games. We've been getting many quality fan games like Chaotic Customer, Mannequin fan games from Emojix and whatnot, and Vince said that it is great to see because they haven't seen, or none of us have seen them all, how it looks like. It is now revealed that from all the fan games that we got for the mall, actual holiday horror mall does not look anywhere near, does not look like the ones that we've seen from the fan games, which is fantastic because it gives and forces the fan devs to do something unique and creative. By the way, check out Fandom Game. I know I'm promoting it a lot, bro. There is so much good stuff in there, so make sure you tune in specifically if you want to check out some Puppet King stuff. Okay, then somebody asked the Steam cover of chapter 5. It has freaking Darkstar, Puppet King, Malak, and people asked, where is it from, like in terms of actual in-game? Is it from a cutscene or whatever? It was confirmed that although yes, the models that you see on this page, on this cover, They are from in-game. Like, this is how the models will look like in the game. However, this picture right here is just that, a picture. It is not from a cutscene. Darkstar isn't like hanging out with Puppet King, and those two are not hanging out with Malik like that. Like we're seeing in the picture, they are not doing that in Chapter 5. This is just for the freaking front of the freaking marketing and promotional material. Now let's get back to the mall size that I talked about earlier in this video. Vince revealed that the mall where the holiday horror is happening, it is bigger compared to Barely Buried. Now, Barely Buried, as you guys know, I like Barely Buried level, but not as much as I like the first level. I would put it at number 3. I like the creativity. I like the fact that the powers were taken away, that we have to go back and find those ring pieces to get our powers back slowly. I like how I like the execution of and the structure of the level and the cutscenes. I didn't like the zones per se. I like the third zone, kind of, sort of, but overall it was really tedious. I talked about this in the past as well, but compared to overall holiday horror mall level is bigger compared to Barely Buried overall. That is insane. So the play time is going to be huge. Specifically zone 1 of holiday horror, it is huge compared to zone 1 of Barely Buried, which kind of makes sense. I mean, zone 1 of Barely Buried is like not that big of a zone, but that's neither here nor there. The structure of the mall, the rooms layout, because it is a mall, there's going to be a lot of rooms, and the entire structure, the floors and whatnot, because we know there are going to be multiple floors, it is different compared to, cave, the cavern system. Overall, it is bigger, ladies and gentlemen. Then it was also confirmed, and this is a huge detail, by the way, this shows you how big of a level this is. We talked about the size. What about the enemy quantity? It was confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, that the amount of trigger teddies that are in Barely Buried overall, all 3 zones combined, there are more mannequins in holiday horror compared to trigger teddies in Barely Buried. Let that sink in. This is a huge detail, ladies and gentlemen. It is a huge detail because the most enemies that we've seen at a time at a specific point is Barely Buried, and there was just so many of them. They are little, so you can maneuver around a little bit, but mannequins, they are not little. So if we're getting more mannequins, I mean, yeah, the size is bigger compared to Barely Buried, but if we're getting more mannequins than teddies, holy, the difficulty is gonna be nuts, bro. I would, though, seeing the S ranks specifically in the first week of the launch of Chapter 5, it's gonna be nuts. There's a lot of things that I'm planning for Chapter 5. One of them is actively, seeing players try the S rank and get the S rank and react to it. And we're gonna come back to S rank in just a second. And the final thing related to holiday horror that was revealed in the Q&A is that if there's any major threat after Malik in Dark Deception, specifically in Chapter 5, it is in between Puppet King and Darkstar. It depends on the player. It could be Puppet King if you're into that. It could be Darkstar if you're into that. Different for each player. We're gonna learn more about Darkstar in part 2 of this series, Q&A recap series. We're gonna call it the Resurrection recap series because we've learned so much. I have divided all the levels and some levels combined, supervision, all the stuff in this series. So over the course of next week or 2, you're gonna get the recap videos, the Q&A recap videos. You're gonna get the Fandom Game Fest at the end of this, next week, hopefully. The trailer is coming tonight, by the way, and then you got a lot of other stuff as well. And also, I want to end on this point that we might get a holiday horror or prison panic teaser soon, depending on 2 things. Number 1, the popularity of a specific level at a given point in time, and number 2 is that it makes sense for Vince to showcase a Chapter 5. Like, at the moment right now, it is not needed. You might even expect, what are you talking about? Dark Deception is doing fine, right? Super Dark Deception is doing great. It has taken over the Dark Deception community. I'm loving the fact that Super Dark Deception is kind of like resurrected this community at the moment, and I'm loving it. There will be more on Darkstar and her level in part 2, so make sure you tune in for part 2. It might drop tonight or earlier tomorrow, so make sure you are subscribing, notifications on. There's so much juicy stuff coming. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna leave you here. Susu for more 100k. Let's go, boy.